today we have Truman with us, one of the players in one of my campaigns. Welcome, Truman. So anyhow, I've got a set of questions that we're going to ask you to get an idea of who you are and what the hell you're doing playing D&D. Anyhow, so how long have you been playing D&D?
I've been playing for approximately 23 years.
Approximately 23 years? Wow, sounds pretty exact. So, what first got you into playing?
I've always been interested in fantasy and used to read a lot of books. It was first introduced to me by a mutual friend that I met his cousin, and I played my first game, Jason Miller. Found it pretty interesting and just kind of became a hobby from there.
All right, on. So, what RPGs have you played or DM'd?
I've played World of Darkness, both the D20 edition by Monty Cook and the set by White Wolf. I've played Vampire the Masquerade, Vampire the Dark Ages, Rifts and Dragons, Star Wars, the Saga edition, and the Wizards of the Coast edition. I've played the what was it? Legend of the Five Rings, 3rd and 4th edition. Quite a few I can't remember. Mutants and Masterminds, and that's all I can recall at this time.
Oh, wow.
Call of Cthulhu, that was another.
Wow. Impressive history of RPGs you've played. Cool. So,
yeah, I like to.
Have you ever attended a gaming convention?
No, I haven't. Never had the opportunity. Either problems with transportation, something like that at the time.
So if the opportunity ever presented itself, would you go to one?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, check it out.
Right on. Alright. So, have you ever tried dungeon mastering? Being a DM?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've thrown quite a few games.
Cool. So, what, in your opinion, makes a good dungeon master?
Creativity, a good storyline, trying to keep things flowing pretty good. The ability of improvisation. Sometimes you just gotta fill in the blanks.
Right on. So what are your current plans as a dungeon master? Do you have anything in the works?
I got ideas that I need to put together. I do want to keep running this 4th edition Dark Sun campaign that I've been kind of working on. I'd like to kind of get characters up in excuse me. I'd kind of like to get characters up in that game to a high level before I drop 4th edition for 5th. I'm not real fond of 4th edition and some of the rules. been playtesting 5th edition and find it to be a lot more interesting, a lot more like the older RPGs that a lot of us like to play. So, I'd kind of like to try out the high levels of 4th edition one time before we move on.
All right, on. Cool. I look forward to that. So, what kind of a player would you categorize yourself as? Power gamer, tactician, storyteller, method actor, or a casual gamer?
Maybe a little casual gamer with a little bit of tactics. Not real good at diplomacy roles, but I can get pretty descriptive when it comes to combat too, and I wouldn't call myself a method actor. I'm not real good with the voice roles and all that, but
Gotcha. Cool.
I think I'm a pretty decent player. Yeah.
Right on. So what kind of a DM do you think you are? Or does that fit in with what you are as a player?
It kind of depends. It kind of depends on the question, I guess. What kind of DM I am.
So if someone wanted to know what kind of games that you run, if it's if there's puzzles, traps, lots of storytelling, lots of role playing, or if it's a lot of hack and slash, what would you categorize yourself in your style?
I work on a lot of storytelling. I think I'm pretty good at putting a story together. I do use quite a bit of traps at times. I'm not broke as far as puzzles go. That's kind of my weak point. But I think, like I said, mostly storytelling. I'd say that's my strong suit.
All right, on. All right. So, tell us about one of your more memorable events as a player.
One of my more memorable events as a player?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can answer that one. I don't really have any like real memorable events as a player.
All right.
I haven't got to play a lot in a long time.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I think I've been.
How about as a DM?
I really haven't started playing again 2 months.
Oh.
As a DM. One of my more memorable events. I created a pretty good storyline not too long ago. I thought it was a really good and interesting game. I brought all of the players in separately, not knowing each other, and I was able to design the story so they all kind of got stuck in a drastic situation. Kind of forced them all together in a very appropriate way. The game came out just almost perfect. I believe I was using Forgotten Realms, and it was centered around a cult of orcs who was trying to bring back an archdevil, I believe it was, that I had created by the name of Virtu. And he was imprisoned long ago by a group of adventurers. I believe there was 7 adventurers comprised of a priest, a paladin who was against his will turned into a vampire and trapped in a tomb by his own will.
Dang.
He had hoped to die because of his beliefs. It had hurt him more being made a vampire than anything. It's hard to explain. It's been a while since I threw the game, but it was pretty detailed. It was pretty in depth. The players ended up stuck in a remote village in the middle of a forest. It was an upcoming village. the people of the village was kind of brought together by an artifact, which was an orb of Eingetlin. It was a demonic artifact that was used to increase the potential of the devil's powers. And
wow.
It's hard to explain. It's been a while. There was a few artifacts that was needed to activate this orb to release the Devil Urtu. Some of the artifacts, one was a book that had to be used to read, or it had to be read to activate the orb. It was the Tenfold Truth of Borodane. The hand of the Paladin was one of the items that was needed, or the blood of the vampiric paladin was needed to even make the writing and the Tenfold Truth of Borodane visible. It was a pretty intricate game, pretty memorable for me. One I hope to be able to put some work into one day, and maybe be able to put back into play for our group.
Oh, sounds interesting.
And,
wow.
It's a very good game for a large group of players. I believe we started out with about 12, and by the end of the game there was only 5 or 6 remaining. It was pretty harsh, but well played.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It's pretty memorable. But I forgot a lot of how it went. It's been a while. But if I put some work into it again, I think I could duplicate the game pretty well.
Why not?
So, see what we can do whenever. I'm kind of waiting for 5th edition before I try to bring that back out.
Cool. So,
yeah, I would make it into a playtest.
Cool.
I don't want to spin the filling at all. I want to have all the rules as they should be.
Okay.
So I'm kind of trying to have patience with that game.
That makes sense. Okay. So, could you name off some of what I would term the most influential DMs you've played with, and name at least one unique thing to each one of the people that you name?
I've only played with a couple DMs that I ever thought was worth playing with. One was you, but we never really had a lot of time to. I never really had a lot of time to play in a lot of your games. A lot of them was in Los Benos when you were playing a lot, or I don't know, something just came about, so I was unable to make it. Another of the most influential DMs that I've played with was Jason Miller. He always, like we were discussing the other day, Jason Miller always put together a real good story. He had a creative imagination and always managed to come up with something new.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it was,
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good. His games were pretty different from your normal games, and they were always interesting and filled with a lot of new and dangerous things.
Oh yes. Cool.
Oh yeah.
So what is your favorite setting? Campaign setting?
My favorite campaign setting, I think, is Forgotten Realms. I enjoy Forgotten Realms a lot. I like all the work that's been put into it. I like it because a lot of novels have been released around it. So being able to read about what goes on in the realms kind of gives you an idea about how a game should go in the realms. And there's just a lot of description in it, so you really know a lot about everything there is to know about it.
True.
As far as how the gods work and everything else, I've read almost, well, nearly all the Forgotten Realms novels, probably.
Cool.
So I'm sure there's quite a few I missed that they're releasing so many nowadays, but yeah, I'd have to say that the Realms is one of my favorite. There tends to be something that I don't really like about a lot of the other campaigns.
Gotcha. So,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite edition of D&D?
Well, so far, I guess I'd have to say 3 point. No, it's a struggle to decide which one's my favorite. Besides second edition and 3.5, I'd say second edition. I believe you could do a lot more with second edition than could 3.5. So yeah, 3.5 was kind of cheapened, and they tried to make it better with the release of the epic level hand guide, but everything was already there for you in second edition, as well as it was a lot more simple to create your own monsters or classes or anything like that. PC races. It was a lot more about second edition that I liked. So yeah, I'd have to go with second edition.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm gonna name off a few things. Tell me which one is your favorite. Do you have a favorite player character you've ever played?
Do I have a favorite character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I believe it was even before the rules made it possible that Jason allowed me to get Dro. I kind of multi-classed with him, made him a fighter thief. He was the first assassin I ever tried to run, and named him K-Brock Norin. He was I think he was my most fun character I ever played.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you have a favorite?
Pretty evil, but
Cool. Do you have a favorite non-player character?
yeah. A favorite non-player character. Yeah, I did. And that would be associated with the game I was attempting to explain. I ran a while back with the Tenfold Truth of Borzane and the War of Divine Getlin. I was just able to roleplay that NPC really well. That was the paladin who became inflicted with vampirism. The way he was torn between two worlds was really interesting. It played out really well. And I think I would have to name that as my favorite NPC.
Cool.
He was in a struggle against his lawful good nature and with bloodlust, so it was pretty interesting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite type of weapon?
A favorite type of weapon?
Yes.
I've always had a fascination with swords, and I think one of my favorite swords, it was like favorite swords among any fighter I ever played, I always had to go with a bastard sword.
Gotcha. And how about a magic?
I'd have to name a bastard.
Okay. What about a magic spell? Do you have a favorite magic spell?
Yeah. Favorite magic spell? I've always loved the lightning bolt. You don't really have to worry. Fireballs are pretty good too, but you always got to worry about taking out party members. So the lightning bolt, you're doing all right as long as there's nobody in a straight line of sight where your enemies might be standing. Then you're pretty safe using a lightning bolt, especially at high levels when you're able to do a lot of damage. So I'd have to say that's one of my favorite spells.
Nice. Cool. Alright. Who in your opinion has been the best player that you've ever gamed with?
The best player, I think.
You still got the car keys?
That's a hard one right there. I had a couple people that were really great players. One was Jason Miller, because I threw games for him as well, and Keith Hershey. That guy Keith Hershey can play a pretty good character. pretty good at role playing.
Oh, really? Oh, thanks for that compliment.
I've had a lot of people that just could. I had a lot of people that just couldn't handle a character no matter what they were playing, and just no matter how basic it seemed, they just couldn't handle some of the abilities, proficiencies, or feats they might have, or just totally created them wrong. And yeah,
Oh, right on.
you and Jason's always done pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up learning D&D. All right. So anyhow, on to the next one.
Yeah.
You're currently playing in a couple different adventures, right? And I guess my question to that is, out of all your current player characters you have, which one is your favorite and why?
I'd have to say my current character is Rin Tanlin, my rogue in one of your games. It's a playtest we're doing for D&D Next. Rin Tanlin's a rogue, and I chose the I forgot what the rogue scheme of assassin. I think that's one of my favorite characters. I have a lot of fun playing them. I don't know, I used to be all into fighters. Now I tend to like rogues a lot more. There's a lot more options as far as builds. I like to be able to sneak and all that stuff. I think it's an interesting character to play. He's got a little bit of a dark side. He doesn't help out his party members, but only because it benefits himself. So, yeah, when I have healing potions I can pass out, I'm passing them out to other players, but only to keep them alive so I could have a ready meat shield, somebody I could hide behind to take a lot of the damage while I try to pick them off from the shadows. So he's pretty interesting with his own little dark side, you know. His whole thing is just trying to get things done.
Cool.
No, yeah, not really any qualm.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
So, out of all the characters you've ever had, that you started at first level, what is the highest level character that you've ever played?
Mm-hmm. Me and Jason played the longest game ever in our life. I was telling you about that the other day. It was a character I named Quinn Stillcross. I actually made it up to about 76 level.
Wow,
It was
level
a long
76.
game, and I did a lot of multi-classing.
Wow.
Turned out to be a very powerful character, but Jason as a DM has always managed to make things a challenge, no matter how high of level the party. So, yeah, it was really interesting. Got some really good games going on. Some really interesting ideas he had there.
Yeah.
It was pretty different.
Cool.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite fantasy themed movie?
A favorite fantasy themed movie.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, not really a favorite. I always feel like they could do better. They don't ever do good enough. But I've seen some good ones that catch my attention. As far as favorites, I don't think I really have any favorite fantasy movies. I'll watch them all before anything else. Well, you know what? I take that back. The Lord of the Rings.
The new one
or
the old one?
I think they did it.
The new Lord of the Rings movies?
Yeah. The Hobbit was okay, but I think Well, like following the books, it was more comical than anything. I like the movies that came out prior to The Hobbit.
Gotcha.
A lot more action and just kind of kept you on your toes a little bit.
Oh, okay. So do you have any mementos from your RPG past that you'd like to share?
No, not really. I threw out a lot of my old characters. A while back, I didn't know if I'd be getting any other games or not, or if I'd be playing anymore until I was invited to DMTCD group.
Right on.
If I would have known that the option was still out there to play second edition and stuff like that, I would have kept a lot of my old characters for sure.
Gotcha.
I really didn't want to part with a lot of them, but then I thought, well, if I keep them, then I'm just being a hoarder.
Gotcha.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to pop up a photo, and I'd like for you to use your creative skills to act as if you're a DM and describe the situation, make a story of it, however you see fit. Ready? And
Alright.
go.
As you're walking through the dungeon in search of your party members who you have been split up with accidentally whenever you fell into a trap, you manage to pull yourself out and continue on your search for your missing party. Your heart is thudding in your chest, full of fear. Beads of sweat appear on your skin as a cold sweat bursts forth from your pores out of the fear of being lost in this savage dungeon alone. You could hear noises up ahead. It sounds like a low growl. As you approach the room, you see one of your party members now. It's Garrett, the dwarf from Mount Theron. He holds his warhammer high and growls beneath his breath in defiance. Next to him you see his animal companion, Soren, as he crouches low with a feral look upon his face, as if he's ready to pounce. You approach the room as quietly as you can, trying to use your skills as a rogue, hiding in the shadows. You creep up to the doorway to try to see what may have their attention. When across the room you see a ghoulish creature, its skin a mottled green and yellow, and a stench that just hits you full on in the face, makes you want to retch where you stand. This creature stares at your companions with beady red eyes and a look of lust upon its face as it drools in anticipation of the taste of their flesh. Okay.
Nice. That's a... Alright, here's the next picture. Let's see your description skills. Go for it.
Alright. Okay.
Yep.
Approximately 4 days ago, your small home on the outskirts of town was raided. Your love Emil was taken away. You inspected your home and the surrounding areas to see what could have happened, who could have came and taken your lost love. You find some tracks, and you find a bit of discarded cloth. By the smell and the coarse hair left upon the cloth, you assume that it was taken by a tribe of orcs known as the Iron Tusk. You enlist the help of your brother, Everin, and you both set off in search of Emil. You follow the tracks as best as you can. You're traveling for quite a few days when you come upon what appears to be an abandoned temple. You hear a scream from inside. Apparently it is the voice of your lost love, Emil. The door bursts open. Apparently you've been spotted. 3 orcs run forth. One seems to be in lead of the others. The first that rushes out draws what appears to be a large falchion or scimitar, and he comes in to attack you. You happen to be a bit faster than the attacking orc. You pull forth your large 2-handed blade and take a swing as the orc ducks just beneath the blade. Your sword flashes by harmlessly above his head. Another orc falls back and to the right, beginning to beat on what appears to be a large war drum. The orcish leader draws an axe. stands back watching the battle between you and this other orc, as if observing your actions, hoping to get some clue as to the style of your fighting, showing somewhat of a great intelligence for an orc. Your brother stands in the back, drawing forth what appears to be a large crossbow, as he nocks an arrow and waits for a perfect opportunity to help you in defeating this orc combatant you're engaged with. Feeds on your flesh. There's always the fear of loss, always the fear of dying when locked in battle. Yet your heart thuds against your chest in anticipation of your kill. I'm done.
All right, good job.
That was kind of poopy. That was weak.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good. All right, so I guess we'll wrap this up. So anything you'd like to add?
All right.
Anything that we should know? What makes Truman Truman?
No.
All right. All right, Truman. Well, thank you.
No, not really.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me interview you. And I guess we'll be seeing you in action in the sessions to come.